Hello, everyone. I'm just going to wait for a couple minutes for people to show up. It's your March episode of Ask a Libertarian. So it's good morning, good evening, Kevin. Just shutting the door, make a little private. Say, Chad, thanks for coming by. Hello, Megan. Does the sound good, guys? Everybody can hear okay? Hey, Bill, thanks for coming. Hi, Jenny. We got 6 of us. That's a good start to me. Everybody, the sound's okay on this, everybody? Yeah, hey, Ruben. Okay. I'm going to start off tonight with talking about the fact that we have 3 days left for you to register. Change your registration over to the Libertarian Party. If you intend to vote in our primary, you have to be postmarked or in the the election board's office March 31st. That's when the deadline is to change your registration to the Libertarian Party before the primary, in order to vote in the primary for the Libertarian Party. Second thing, we have our state convention this weekend in Seminole, Oklahoma at the Wellness Center. Go online to oklp.org. You can register there. Your registrations will be available at the door, but I have to caution you again, if you are not a registered libertarian, and then you will not be allowed to be a delegate. You can come, you can attend, you can watch the proceedings, talk to everybody, meet everybody behind the scenes. But as far as participating in actual business, you have to be a registered libertarian, and you have to be a member of the state party. So make sure that you show up this weekend regardless. Come out and say hi at the very least. Hey, David. Hey, Richard. And as promised, that is all of the time that I'm going to take up tonight to do my own monologue, as opposed to what I did back in February and took up the first hour just shooting the bull. So ask your questions anytime you want, anything you want. Thanks, Kyle. Nice to see you. What's going on, everybody? 14 of you and nobody's got a question. I can't believe it. Well, a lot of people still don't know a lot about me. So, the teacher walkout in the unions. Okay. Let's talk about that for a minute. I'm not going to talk about what's going on in the dialogue, what's going on Facebook, what's going on Twitter, and all of that stuff, because they have got that conversation so convoluted that it's not even possible to distinguish right from wrong anymore. All right, here's the situation as it exists. Teachers in the state of Oklahoma are members of the public union. That union negotiates on behalf of those teachers with the state in order to get them the best contract possible, the best wages possible, best benefits possible, so on and so forth, etc. If you've ever been in a union, you already know how it works. And so when we look at those people who are responsible for the teachers being happy, there are a lot of players on the table, right? Okay, first of all, we have to look to the union. The Oklahoma Education Association is the one that negotiates that contract with the state of Oklahoma. If the Oklahoma Education Association said that's the contract, that's what the teachers need to stick by. For them to come back now and say, okay, we don't like the contract anymore, we're going to walk out unless you do this for us right now. It's a violation of contract, guys. And the teachers are all buying into it because they think that the union is representing them appropriately, and that they operated in good faith, and that the state is just not living up to their end of the bargain. That's not the case at all. There are a lot of people complaining about the fact that they're having to work a lot of extra hours beyond their 6.75 that are inside of their contract on a daily basis. That's not the state asking them to do that. That's their local school board, and sometimes necessity because these schools are understaffed. Some of these schools are understaffed. That's not the fault of the students. That's not the fault of the state. They don't make the hiring decisions for those local school districts. That's not the fault of the parents. That's not the fault of the children that attend those schools. But walking out is who that's going to affect. It's not going to affect the union. It's definitely not going to affect the legislature unless they happen to have kids in school. And then they're going to have to find daycare for those kids. It's going to affect the people like you and me. I was recently on both Channel 9 in Oklahoma City, Channel 4 in Oklahoma City, Channel 9 in Oklahoma City, Channel 6 here in Tulsa. And we had a brief interview, and I said that I don't believe that walkouts are the right thing to do, and I don't. I believe what they need to do is elect new union leadership, someone who's actually going to negotiate for them in good faith and take care of them from that side. On the other side of it, the legislature, who they have to negotiate with, they need to elect new legislators that are going to prioritize the education system and not prioritize, spray washing the entire front of the Capitol building and remodeling the basement and decorating parks and putting in reflecting pools and all of these other things that they seem to prioritize. One of the major bills that passed at the end of last session was ivory control. They tried to do a circumvent to do gun control by controlling ivory distribution and giving game wardens authority to restrict the use of ivory. Why? Because people have revolvers that have ivory on the handles, and that gives them the opportunity to take those guns under the auspice that they're going to be able to control the ivory. That was more of a priority to them than passing a budget and to making that our education system was top-notch. So, no, the walkout's a bad idea. I believe that the teachers need to suck it up for this year unless they are going to lobby the legislature, because the contract's in place, they can't change it. At the end of this year, they need to have union leadership in place that's going to walk into that meeting when they negotiate the contract and say, look, these are our demands, and you're going to get as close to those as possible. At the same time, in November, they're going to get an opportunity to elect a lot of legislators, a lot of them. Unfortunately, 75% of them are running unopposed at this point. Quite a few of them have already said that they're not running for another term because they can't get anything done. I get it. I get their frustration. I get why people don't want to run for office in Oklahoma, because it's a cluster down there at 23rd and Lincoln. But that falls on us, guys. That's our responsibility. We're the ones that have to step up. It's the reason I stepped up, is because we haven't had good candidates in quite a while. We haven't had candidates either at the legislature or at the governor's office that want to talk about these issues and offer positive solutions. So if you are upset about what's going on in education, throw your hat in the ring. You'll have my support 100%. I'll be behind you if you go out there and you got to offer solutions and not play party politics and not play partisanship. There's a Democrat who I can't announce yet that I am going to be supporting in his run for the state legislature. And it's because he is offering solutions. I don't agree with everything that he has to say. I don't believe he's offering all the right solutions. But by golly, he's trying to get something done, so I'm going to support him on that. Richard, you're in here in the chat with us. He's running for U.S. Senate. Why? Because he wants to give people options and he wants to change the debate. Even if you don't think you can win, even if you can't go out there campaigning at full time, you do make a difference. You do change the debate. So step up. If you've got the opportunity, if you've got the means, and if you've even got the least little bit of inclination, do it. You've got a family here to support you, just like all of these people that you see in my chat right now. So, all of that being said, that's how the situation exists as far as I view it from the state. I have been offering a plan. Education's been my number one platform priority since my campaign started back in February of 2017. I've offered a plan to give them the raise that they want. Not all at once. Initially, I was saying $5,000 was my initial. I believe that's fair. I think a $10,000 raise is outrageous considering the state of the economy in Oklahoma, the cost of living in Oklahoma, and they're comparing apples and oranges. They're talking about taking someone from a rural school district in Oklahoma and moving them to Denton, Texas, which is a very high school paying school district in Texas. So if you want to compare apples to apples, yeah, Oklahoma is at the bottom of the barrel. Our teachers absolutely need a raise. But giving them that $5,000 a year raise is going to take them from 47th place up to 36th place, which is right around where our schools are performing. So, once we start getting to a place where our students are performing in the top 25, we can pay our teachers top 25. Why? Because we're going to have a ton of people coming to Oklahoma for the education system, the cost of living, the new burgeoning economy that we're going to have under our leadership. Oklahoma is going to attract people, and we can solve this problem, but there's nothing that can be fixed overnight by raising taxes on the poor, by raising cigarette taxes, which is going to affect the mentally ill and the poor mostly, by raising the taxes on gas and diesel, which is going to mostly affect the poor, because we're the ones that feel it when we have to pay gas to drive back and forth to work. The people that have the money to do this in the state, they're not going to be affected by any of these taxes. It's going to affect all of us. Another thing on the tax increase that they just passed, $5 a night lodging fee. Tourism is Oklahoma's third largest industry currently. They are going to be taking us in Tulsa to be the highest taxed lodging city in the country. Oklahoma City is going to be the third highest tax paying city in the country when it comes to lodging under this new tax. Totally ridiculous. The only thing I approve of that they did is the gross production tax being increased to 5%, which I've been calling for from the very beginning, and that has nothing to do with the funding that's going to provide our government, but everything to do with taking the load off of the other industries that are shouldering the majority of the burden that's stifling our economic growth and our economic diversification. I think that by itself is going to have some very positive effects, because we're going to be able to see revenue growth and economic growth in other sectors of our economy besides in the energy sector. So that's my whole status on the education system, teacher walkouts, so on and so forth, etc. I'm going to scroll up here. Oh, so many of you have had a lot of good things to say. Idea about the utility tax. It's another one of those situations, Ruben, on the utility tax, it's another one of those situations where it's going to mostly affect the poor. Oklahoma is currently a 25% poverty state. 25% of the state of Oklahoma lives in poverty. 35% live within 165% of the federal poverty level, which means that 40% of the state of Oklahoma is eligible for public assistance. When you institute a tax on the people, we pay the taxes no matter what kind of tax it is. It's going to come back on us. But what we need to look at is, if we are going to raise some type of tax, it needs to be one that is progressive in nature and does not already dampen the economic woes that we're facing. I know that's not a libertarian answer, taxation stuff, so on and so forth, etc. But I'm not looking at this as from a purist libertarian perspective. I'm looking at this as taking us from where we are to where we need to go. We can get to the point where we don't need to raise taxes on anybody ever, where we can lower all the taxes and eventually get rid of taxes altogether. That can happen, but that's down the road. We need to get there hurting as few people as possible, preferably zero. Everything that I propose in my legislation takes us closer to that libertarian goal of all rights for all people all the time without causing any collateral damage. So we can get there. I don't think the utility tax is going to be a way to do that, because again, it's going to damage the people that are already in the worst shape. State question 788. Pass it, please. It'll make my job to get full legalization easier. Should a private union be able to do this in the state with no repercussions? No, Kevin, they shouldn't. And I'm pretty sure that what they are proposing is illegal if it is a strike. What I am understanding is that the schools are voluntarily closing down, which is well within the rights of the school board to do, in order to give the teachers the opportunity to have conversations with the public or their legislator or whoever they're going to talk to when they're out on what is in fact a de facto strike. They shouldn't be able to do it. It's blackmail, and it's wrong. Need to do one union, no union. Sorry guys, I don't have anybody in here reading for me tonight, so I'm playing catch up as we go. The legislature did vote for a raise, Joseph. The OEA has said it's not good enough. The legislature passed that tax package was enough to give a $6,000 raise to the teachers and raises to all the support staff and other state employees. And the Oklahoma Education Association came out today and said it's not good enough. Walkout is still on. Some of the school districts have backed out of closing the schools in light of the new legislation, assuming it passes, but the OEA is still calling for a strike. Yeah, looks like Chad answered my question. How do you feel about the federal government taking away 2A rights from cannabis patients? They can't do that. Even under the current law, cannabis is not recognized as a mental illness or any of the other conditions. Yes, addiction is mentioned in the federal firearms code about who they can take firearms away from. Cannabis isn't addictive, so it doesn't qualify under any of the Federal Firearms Act qualifications for removing gun rights. States have the ability to go to supersede federal law, to go above and beyond federal law. It's wrong. I won't stand for it. As a matter of fact, once I get elected governor, I'm going to be repealing, or I'm going to try to repeal, I'm going to work to repeal with the legislature all of the tax codes. I'm going to work with Don Spencer to make sure that we get good gun legislation in there and restore our Second Amendment rights to us. Hey, Chad, thanks for joining us tonight. Should help get people to stop using tobacco and not penalize them. Well, see, Kevin, that's the justification they use. They say that it's going to prevent people from using tobacco, but that's not what's actually going to happen. They're trying to play it both ways. They're saying, one, it's going to help get people off of tobacco. Two, it's going to raise all of this revenue based off current tobacco or current tobacco sales. But here's the thing. You and I know that if you live within 20 miles of the border and it's $1.50 cheaper to go buy a pack of cigarettes on the other side of the border, I'm going to go drive across the other side of the border. They're not going to get near the revenue that they think they're going to be getting out of this tobacco hike. This whole plan was ill-conceived from the very beginning and was an act of desperation by Republicans trying to salvage any semblance of authority that they have in their control of the legislature. And it was bad all the way around. They compromised their own values and their own standing in their own party to do something that nobody in the state wanted to happen, not even the teachers, by and large. You know, there are a lot of people on Facebook right after my interview, when I went public, a lot of teachers came and they hit me on Twitter saying, well, now I know who I'm never going to vote for again. But for every one of those teachers that came and said that they're not going to vote for me, 2 teachers came to me in private messages and said, thank you for saying what needed to be said. So I know it seems unpopular, but it's not. The teachers are behind us and they know that we are working to get them what they want. And a lot of them have learned that I'm the one forwarding the best plan for them. So, hi, JJ. It's nice to see you. Lori, the state gives out a lot of corporate welfare. Example, new apartments around St. Anthony's were subsidized. Yes. Some people will build it to make a profit, so why the hell did we subsidize that? Because it was the popular thing to do. I think that's going to go back more on Mick Cornett than it's going to be on us, or at the state level. There is a long-standing belief among many of the old guard in the Republican Party that supply-side economics still works. And it does work to stimulate immediate growth. It doesn't do it over the long term. They did it because they think that it's going to make housing more affordable, higher quality, and it's going to attract more people to the city. But it's not going to attract more people if there aren't more jobs, more high-paying jobs. It's not going to attract people if the infrastructure is broken and people can't get around and companies can't get their goods to and from their facilities. It's not going to do it if the education system here is as bad as it is, because people don't want to send their kids to poor schools. It's putting the cart before the horse. And once we get all of the infrastructure issues taken care of, the education system, we get the tax code back lined out, we get the equal protection before the law for tax for all companies, we're going to start seeing revenue growth. We will see companies come into the state. And at that point, we will see the higher wages. We will see the increase in demand for housing. And we will see the infrastructure investment that will come from the people saying, oh, I can make good money if I build a new apartment building or a new housing addition or something like that. Those property values will rise on their own once we get the economy taken care of. If we get that taken care of first, all of the other stuff will fall into the line, including these revenue problems that we're facing. So my feelings on that issue. Rooting out corruption and reforming government before raising taxes. Bill, that's been my stance all along. One of the biggest reasons that I've been saying that, no, we should not raise any taxes at all whatsoever until we go in there and do performance audits and then do forensic audits to prosecute the people who mismanage the funds. That's the way I'll put it. Until we do that, we're throwing water into a leaky bucket. It's not going to make any difference. We're not going to see any improvements by doing that. And that's why I've been calling for performance audits of every agency and instituting forensic audits where we find the mismanagement and making sure that there's no criminal liability. Key differences between me and the other two LP candidates, particularly Chris. Joe and I are night and day. I'm not going to say anything more about him. Chris, I think the biggest difference between he and I is that he wants to take a slower path. He wants to take slower growth, and he doesn't want to utilize the advantages we have for rapid growth immediately. He's got some good ideas. I appreciate everything that he's got to say. I think he's trying to take things a little too slow, and I don't think that it's going to have the effects that he wants it to have, because he is still wanting to maintain government control at every level. He wants to shift where the control is. He wants to take it from the state down to the local level a lot more. A lot of this stuff we need to take out of government control altogether, and that's where we're going to see the real growth and the real differences. And it's going to have the effect of, we were just talking about the effect of the market. When the consumer is going to have the choice between a vastly superior private entity at half the price, the public institutions are going to have to reform or they will go away. And I don't care which option it is, I'll take either one of them, because either way we see growth and we see opportunity. We see it all fixed. I was saying utility tax because it would affect everyone and not just a select few. You're right, Ruben, it does affect everybody, but when you and I pay our electric bill, $300 a month, $200 a month, whatever it may be, we feel that tax a lot more than someone who's making $200,000 a year or $500,000 or $1 million a year. Anytime that you tax something like that equally across the board, it has a regressive effect, and it reduces the disposable income of those at the lower end of the spectrum. If Oklahoma had an excellent safety net and Oklahoma did not have such a high poverty level, I would say that that would be wise. But at this point in time, we've been taking the money from the poor and we've been giving it to oil and gas. And that's something that we need to correct. We've been giving it to energy all the way around. I don't want to leave wind out of this, because the subsidies that we gave to them and the 5-year exemption on the sales tax, we paid that, guys. That came out of our pockets, directly out of our paychecks. And it went to people who were sitting high on the hog, the top 1%. They're still posting record profits, despite the fact that oil and gas is way down per barrel. No, I'm not going to do anything that's going to increase the burden on the lower 40% of Oklahoma's population. So, the Muskogee superintendent about the walkout laughed at me. I think we got what we want. He's got what he's want for now, and he'll probably get to keep his job under my plan, but about 300 of them won't. Politics and government are a Ponzi scheme. Where would you stand on the Convention of the States? If it were feasible, what would you ask for? Okay, for those of you who aren't familiar with what the Article 5 Convention of States is, it's that if 35 of the states get together and say, we want to hold a constitutional convention over X issue. A convention, an Article 5 convention can only be held over a single issue. If I were to hold it on a single issue, I would say Supreme Court legislating from the bench. government overreach, and not that we need to have original intent with the Constitution. We need to get back to the Bill of Rights. We need to restore Article 10, especially state sovereignty. So all of these areas that the federal government has gone in and said healthcare is our responsibility because it's for the public welfare. The Second Amendment issues, Obamacare especially. There are many, many areas that the federal government has overreached and said that this is within our purview because it has to do with the common welfare. And they have taken a very liberal definition of what common welfare means, and that's given them the opportunity to do things like the Environmental Protection Agency. We can manage Tyson chicken just fine here in Oklahoma. We don't need Scott Pruitt up there at the EPA telling them that they are allowed to pollute our streams. So they've taken away a lot of the sovereignty of the states through federal legislation. And if I were to hold an Article 5, I would want them to go in there and say that they need to have a strict definition of each of those words that they use to justify their overreach. Okay, I'm back down at the bottom. It's bad I've got invited to watch this and I'm not even old enough to vote. That's okay, my friend. We're here to talk about politics. We're here to talk about anything you want to. Actually, I'm running for governor if you didn't know it. So feel free to hop in, ask anything, anybody. If I missed your question, please ask it again. Woo, half an hour and I've got caught up. That's a lot better than we did the last 2 times. Justin, glad you joined us. Clark, it's good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. I hope I see a lot of you guys Saturday. For all of you that came in later on, remember, this weekend is the Libertarian State Convention. It's being held at the Reynolds Wellness Center in Seminole, Oklahoma. Starts at 8:30. Be there a little bit earlier for registration. You need to be a registered Libertarian voter, and you need to be a member of the state party before you can be a delegate. But we are going to have a guest area where you can witness history being made. That night is going to be the first Oklahoma Libertarian debate in state history. Chris, Joe, and myself will be on stage between, I believe it's 5 and 6. 5 and 6:30. I believe is when the debate is being held, and it's going to be the first one in state history. Come watch it. It's going to be a big deal. Will, glad you could join us. So, tripartisanship. Yeah, let me talk about that for a second, because a lot of people are saying, Rex, you're only going to be a libertarian and you're a governor, you don't write the laws. Let's talk a little bit about how government works and why I am going to make such a big difference. I'm not beholden to anyone. I have gotten no oil and gas money, and despite what some of the other candidates are saying, I've gotten no Step Up Oklahoma money either. I'm not getting any wind energy money. I am not getting any big business money of any kind. I am not getting any healthcare money. All of my money is coming from grassroots. It's coming from people. And quite a few small businesses have been donating as well. But it's mostly small businesses. And that leaves me accountable to no one except for you, the people of Oklahoma. However, a large part of the problem, the reason that the legislator is not choosing to address the issues that are in front of us, the transportation system, the oil and gas, the education system, is because they are getting a lot of money to not solve the problem. They are worried about getting elected in the next election cycle, and their donors, with the limitation being $2,700 in the state of Oklahoma, they need a lot of those donors who are donating maximum in order to get the $2 million coffers like Todd's supporting. That means that they owe people favors. They can't do what needs to be done because they owe these people favors. However, you get, and I'm also going to correct a mistake I made in a podcast last week here, you get a libertarian governor in there. And all of a sudden, none of the stuff that these special interest groups want pushed through are getting through, because I'm going to veto every single one of them. Every single one of them. And when oil and gas discovers that they can't get their agenda pushed through the legislature anymore, why donate the money? When the healthcare industry sees that they can't get their agenda pushed through anymore, why are they going to be given those campaign dollars? When all the superintendents of the state see that they can't get their freedom down there, where they're not accountable to anybody except for the board, who, they're not going to be donating that money anymore. So now all of a sudden we have an entirely new political landscape in the state of Oklahoma, where everybody is on equal footing and everybody's going to have to run on their values, not on their wallet. So there's a lot of people saying that you can't do anything as governor, and they're right. I cannot push any legislation through myself, but I can stop everybody else from pushing through their legislation, which is why my initial campaign promise was that I am offering to be the shield between you, the people of Oklahoma, and the legislature that's gotten increasingly away from Oklahoma values. That goes for both sides. That goes for the Republicans that are pushing a tax and spend agenda. That goes for the Democrats that are pushing for oil and gas favoritism and subsidies. They're not all doing that. Some of the candidates are. Drew Edmondson had the audacity to stand up there on stage in Durant and make mention of the fact that we had to do all of this stuff to the state capitol building, this $80 million or whatever it is renovation project, because concrete was falling on people. I can guarantee you, my cousin is a mason. He does excellent concrete work, and he would have fixed those issues for a lot less than $80 million. Probably would have been able to do it for less than $1 million. Granted, I'm not an engineer, but if you saw my 2 videos from this weekend, you saw that they have gone all the way around that building. They are power washing. They are replacing windows. They are replacing doors. They completely tore out the floor of the basement, the concrete floor, relaid the floor, and overlaid it with granite and marble. It's beautiful. The work they've done is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Why did we do that in a year when we had an $800 million budget deficit that we scrambled through 2 special sessions and still didn't get filled? When our teachers are being paid 48th in the nation, 47th in the nation. When every time I drive on 412 west of here and I'm using my hands free and my voice sounds like this because the road's so horrible. Priorities, people, priorities. Once we get these infrastructure things in, if we have additional revenue, let's talk about beautification projects. Personally, I don't think it's necessary. I think we need to be returning that people to the 40% down there at the bottom of the barrel that are paying for that renovation, that aren't able to get by on day-to-day basis without public assistance. We want to solve our budget. Let's get these people some economic opportunities so that they can get off public assistance and save the state $120 million a year. Let's look at our Medicaid system, do the Medicaid audit, get the $240 million a year that the people sitting in Oklahoma City at 23rd and Lincoln right now are telling me that every indication they have is that we'll see similar results to Arkansas and that we'll save $240 million a year. Let's get criminal justice reform in here. Let's save that $160 million a year we're spending on housing people for smoking a plant. Let's get the 65% of mentally ill people that aren't violent out of Oklahoma jails and into mental health facilities, and stop spending $120,000 a year housing them and start spending $5,000 to $7,000 a year treating them and making them productive Oklahomans again. We're doing everything exactly the opposite that we should be, and it's all common sense. It's all been laid out before us for 2 decades, and they're just not taking the action to do it. So get me in there. We'll get it done because they have nothing to lose at that point. The only way they're going to get reelected is if they do a good job. They're going to do a good job by following my agenda and the plan that I've laid out for the state. That's how we get things turned around, guys. That's what it's going to take. And I need you to push this message. I need you to spread this message as far and wide as you possibly can. because that's the only way we're going to get in front of enough voters that they're going to hear the name, that they're going to come see the message, and they're going to be like, yes, that makes sense. Let's do what he says. So, and on that, I've got to do the obligatory ask. It also takes money to get that out there in front of the people. We've talked about it several times today. Todd Lamb's doing it with $2.4 million, I think was the latest number I saw. I think I can win this with $400,000 because I'm not going to be spending money on AH consulting. I'm not going to be doing all the push-pulls. I'm running on a platform. I'm not running on a popularity contest. I'm not running on a good old buddy network. I'm not running on my cronies taking care of me and pushing it out to all their employees. I'm running on you. I'm betting on you. I'm betting that Oklahoma is pissed off enough about the state of our government that they are looking for real answers and that they are going to abandon the two-party system and they're going to vote for the candidate that's going to make the difference. That's me. Let's go on. I wish you could make it there too this weekend, Andrew, but we're going to see you anyway. Oh, Ruben, to take out our old taxes would be removing thousands of pages of legal code. I don't know how many thousands. I haven't looked it up because it's not that important. But to just completely get rid of the tax code, we would have to rescind a lot of laws that are currently on the books. We would have to alter our Constitution because of the way it's worded. We reserve certain taxes for the state, certain taxes for the locals, and we would have to rewrite that part of the Constitution through a state question, or I believe that 3/4 of the legislature can do it, can get it put on the ballot. There are a lot of things that would have to take place in order to just completely rework the tax code, which a lot of those I am going to undertake because there's no reason that the state and local and county should have 53 different revenue streams. All that does is it makes the taxation invisible to the taxpayer, so you don't realize that you're actually paying a 42% marginal tax rate if you're an average Oklahoman. That's a mechanism that they use to target specific industries, target specific people, and to hide what they've actually done. The whole reason State Question 640 came into being anyway, to begin with, was because for 7 years in a row, they passed record levels of taxation. And the people were mad, and they instituted State Question 640 in order to make sure that the legislature couldn't do that again. So what's our legislature trying to do now? Saying, oh, that makes it too hard on us. We can't do it. Good. Because if you were able to do it, that means that the people of Oklahoma would be behind you and wouldn't be arguing with you about it like they are on the taxes that you just passed. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that would need to change in order to make the tax code different. It's amazing. Megan, I believe that the gubernatorial debate is going to take place at 5:30. I don't remember. I don't have the agenda in front of me. It might be at 5. It might be 5 to 6. Yes, 5 to 6:30. Convention is over at 4:30. The debate starts at 5 o'clock. And if you just want to show up for the debate, everybody, feel free to come out. That's going to be open to everybody no matter what. You can sit. You can participate. You can submit questions. I believe it's going to be moderated from what I've heard at this point by Karen Ann Harlos, who is a national, she's the Colorado region representative to the National Committee, and she is also a special designee from the national chair for recruitment. And she's going to be here for the convention in that capacity for recruitment, and they're going to talk her into moderating the chair debate also, I believe. But those are going to be coming from, the questions will all be coming from the people in attendance. And they did talk about doing a Facebook Live, an official Facebook Live from them. Somebody from my campaign will be living it, and it'll be here on my page. But I believe that the party is also going to live stream it, and that they are going to take submitted questions through there as well. The last I heard is it was going to be 10 questions. The last I heard, all 3 of us are going to be in attendance and participating. And immediately after that, we're going to be having a founders banquet that's going to be honoring those who founded the Libertarian Party, who have been around since 1971. And so that would be a good thing to attend to. And remember, you can go register for any of these right now, oklp.org. If you are attending as a guest, you can go there, you can get your lunch, and you can attend the Founders Award, the Founders Banquet. So there's no good reason not to come unless you got something more important, and I don't know what's more important in the state of the state right now. So what else do we have? Comments have kind of died. Still quite a few of you watching. Oh, Sophie, Megan, I don't know if you have access to the spreadsheet or not, but we've got people in Weatherford and Clinton that are both requesting yard signs. And as you know, my schedule is incredibly full. And I don't know when I'm going to make it back out that way again. So, Sophie, it would be beautiful if you could do that for us. Ruben, there is not a way to get an itemized statement of every cost that we have spent on the state. The OMES was supposed to be put there. Gary Jones rightly calls it the OMS, was put there to oversee the budget. But as far as line item budget, that is not something that the state of Oklahoma has ever done. And it's part of the reason that so many of these agencies have been able to get away with their mismanagement for so long. And it's part of the reason that the health department was able to make $30 million magically disappear. It's part of the reason that we have the issue at the tourism department. It's part of the reason that we're spending $22 billion at the state level and not getting $22 billion worth back. That is something that I would like to see change. While we're talking about that, I want to get rid of OMES, and I want to free up the auditor to do state audits. Under the auditor's office, I want to see someone who does do accounting for all state dollars spent on a line-by-line item basis. I know that's a huge, it seems like a huge growth in government, but like I said, by all indications that I've seen, we are wasting billions. And the amount of additional money that we're going to see, that small growth in state oversight that we're going to have, even if it's a civilian organization, even if it's civilian oversight, that's something that needs to be in place, because we need to be able to account for all these dollars, and that's something that we can't do. And I'm going to talk about that also. We talk a lot about what's going on at the local level with the schools. Most of what takes place in every school district is handled through the local Board of Education and superintendents. The state has very little control other than by what the legislature puts into law, which is actually quite a bit. They try to do a lot as far as what is actually taught in schools. They try to do a lot as far as, percentages of what money are going to be spent in one area. But nobody is looking down at the schools and seeing where that money is actually spent. That's how we got 527 superintendents in the state of Oklahoma when we only need about 200. Most literature that's coming out these days on education theory and education administration is coming out and saying that a superintendent needs to be handling between 2,000 and 4,000 students. That's when you get the most efficiency out of the money that you're spending on that position. That's not what we have here in Oklahoma. We have school districts as few as 653 students in LaFleur County that has a superintendent. We have single K through 6 middle school, 2 schools in the entire district that both have principals and a superintendent. There are locations in Oklahoma where we can consolidate the administration, not the schools, the administration of up to 5 school districts. And, just at the average salary of $120,000 a year, that's $480,000 a year just from one administrative consolidation, just from superintendent salaries. That doesn't count their secretaries, their staffs, their office buildings, the maintenance that we're paying on those, the supplies. That doesn't count any of that. Just from that one consolidation, we're saving $500,000. If we do that all the way across the state, we're going to save around $70 million. If we go by some of the more extreme estimates I've seen, that we could save up to about $220 million just on the superintendent's salaries. $500,000 or $500 million of what we're spending is going to support these superfluous administrations. That pays for the teacher raises by itself that the state just passed the cigarette tax, the gas tax, the diesel tax, and the housing tax for. There are other ways we can do it without raising any taxes at all. I've been saying it for a year now. I'm not going to go into any more detail on it here. If anybody has any questions about it, feel free to ask me. So what else we got, guys? We got about 15 minutes left scheduled. If all of a sudden we have a burst, of course we can go longer, but I'm here for the next 15. Does anybody want to know anything about me? Nobody ever asked anything about me or where I come from or anything, and I don't know how important that is to people. It's not something that I've ever been worried about, but I'm hearing that people don't know Rex well enough, and that's part of the problem. So if there's anything you want to know about me, ask away. I've got no secrets. Most of my life is public record. Yes, I do need your obligatory. I need to do the obligatory ask for donations. The link is on both my webpage, rexforgovernor2018.com. It's on my Facebook page, facebook.com/rexforgovernor2018. Anything you can spare. I have already gone through 2 orders of signs. I've got a second order of T-shirts on the way. I am on my 5th order of rack cards. Jenny Laura, if you're out there and you happen to see this, I need more buttons, so send me a quote, please. Most of the stuff that's happened on my campaign has come through volunteer work. I can tell you right now that Richard and David Knoll, if you're still here, the 2 of you are the ones that paid for the last sign order. I've had quite a few more donations coming since then. I'm down to 25 signs left here at the house. I don't know how many Robert and Megan and other people have. I delivered some up to Alva. Jennifer's got a few on hand left over. I know David might have 1 or 2 left over in Perry. Aaron has got a few over by Stillwater. We're getting them out as fast as we can, but guys, I work full time. I work 55 hours a week. I manage a paint store here in Tulsa. And you know, Richard, he's my boss, the owner, and he's also my brother-in-law. He has been very generous with allowing me to take the time I need in order to do the best job I can for you and for the campaign and for the state. So I'm not actually working 55 hours a week. On the average week, I'm probably working about 40 right now. But when I am not at work in the office, I am doing this. I am out here talking to you. I am attending events. I am traveling. I spent last Saturday driving over the northeast corner, north central, delivering signs to people, T-shirts. Had a meet and greet in Perry. I got to meet David for the first time and his brother. Talk to them. What's going on this coming week? On April 3rd, after the convention, on Tuesday night in Tahlequah, we are having our next Oklahoma Academy Forum at NSU. The last I heard, 9 of the candidates are going to be there. That might not be accurate. It could be as little as 7. But I know Chris and I will be there for sure. Here, let me pull up my calendar real quick. It might get kind of shiny for a second. And I'll give you a full rundown of what we got going on coming up here. Okay, so yes, on the 3rd is in Tahlequah. There's something going on the 5th. I don't remember what it is, but it's not on my calendar, but I'm sure Megan will fix me on that. On Saturday, I'm doing a drive-through Southeast Oklahoma, down in the Atoka and Broken Bow area. And then at 2 p.m., I'll be in Norman for the Renaissance Fair, where we're going to be talking to people there. On April the 10th, we're going to be at Stillwater talking to a bunch of the students and the future of Oklahoma politics. It's an event. I'm going to be there. Connie Johnson's going to be there. I don't know who the Republican representative is going to be. On the 12th is the ONU gubernatorial panel. On the 17th, I'm getting a tattoo. On the 19th, oh wait, I have that backward. At Stillwater at 3 p.m., I'm going to be talking. Not sure what that's going to be. At the 19th, at 10:30 in the morning, is the future of Oklahoma politics at Oklahoma State. And at 5:30 that night, we have to be in Duncan. The next Tuesday, we're doing a debate through the Feldman Foundation. It's a good libertarian activist organization that is doing great work for electoral activism, getting people elected. 9 a.m. on the 26th of April is the OKC MAR luncheon. It's going to be all of the candidates. And at 5:30 that night, we're going to be in Stillwater again at the Wes Watkins Center for the next Oklahoma Academy. So you guys can hear this is very busy. This isn't a paper thing. This isn't something that we're just doing on the side. You know, we're not just here to give people options or to retain ballot access, or despite what you hear any of the old parties saying, we're here to win. I have a very firm belief that we have got an excellent shot at it. Of course, it's all going to depend on who wins the primaries, right? We're going to have a better opportunity against some candidates than others. It's going to be a longer shot, but I don't care if the two best candidates from either of the two old party wins. We are in this race right now. We are making gains faster than anybody. A lot of them have already plateaued. Some of them have dropped off. In some cases, my growth has exceeded the Republican Party candidates and one of the Democrat Party candidates. So a lot of them have plateaued already, and we're still raising every week. We've had weeks as high as 100 new followers. A lot more people show up. Some of our posts have reached as many as 20 to 30,000 people. I think the highest one was 27,000 people. So we're in it to win it. We've got the opportunity, and I believe that we have the perfect political climate in order to see Oklahoma lead the nation for a change and be the first, have the first libertarian governor in country history. So what else do we have? Come on, guys, 8 more minutes. Let's fill out the hour. 7 more. Oh, wait. 9 more minutes. Sorry. Let's do this. If you want a yard sign on my Facebook page, on many of the posts, and I'll make sure that we post it afterward, there's a link to a form that you can fill out. It's a centralized location to where we can, to all the people that we have that are distributing signs, we'll get your address over to them. They'll get it over to you at their first opportunity. Remember, there is 0 paid staff on my campaign, 0 paid consultants. I am getting ready to pay one. It's for him to do work on the webpage and to do analytics on the webpage, to do meta tagging, because quite frankly, none of us just have that skill set. And there are certain specialized things that need to take place for us to have a strong campaign. So I am going to pay someone to work on the webpage, but that's going to be the last expenditure for staff that I am aware of or that has come to light at this point. The signs have all been paid for by individual donations, individual volunteers, people like you. A lot of the stuff that we've gotten has been in-kind donations. All of the time that they have invested, hundreds of hours from, you know, all of my combined staff have been put into this campaign. There are a lot of people working very, very hard to make sure that this message gets as far and wide as possible. And I want to thank each and every one of them. I couldn't even begin to call them all by name. Megan has done an excellent job stepping up and filling Aaron's shoes since she started her state chair run. Oh, by the way, I am going to be endorsing Aaron Adams for the state chair in this next election. I don't know who else is running, but I do know that Aaron has the experience, the connections, the network in order to get our message out as far and wide as possible, to do our membership growth, and to maintain the integrity of the party. She's a radical libertarian, so I know that she's going to keep a principled message. That's all I'll say about that. I'm not endorsing anybody in the national races yet. I take that back. I am endorsing Alex Merced for the Libertarian National Party Vice Chair. I believe he's perfect for that position. I believe he's got everything that's going to take to get us to that next level above the one that Gary Johnson took us to. Gary Johnson took us out of the third party status and made us a major party. I believe that Alex has the skill set that we're going to need in the vice chair in order to take us to that next step to where we're actually contenders nationwide, not just here in Oklahoma. There are a lot of places where we're going to be seeing a lot of success. We have over 200 elected libertarians. In New Hampshire, we have 3 state representatives. In Nebraska, they have a unicameral legislature. We have Laura Ebke. So we are seeing a lot of success nationwide. Even in California, our gubernatorial candidates are getting in the polls. We're seeing a lot of national success, a lot of national attention, and the party is growing all over the country. And it's because people are recognizing that the government has been the problem for too long and that liberty is going to be the solution. That's the difference that we're making. And that's the difference that people like you are making. When I first started this back in February of 2017, I came into it with the firm idea that, I'm just going to be a messenger, not knowing what that actually meant. I meant at that time that I was going to be, putting forth a libertarian message and letting anybody who hears wants to hear. But it's evolved into so much more than that. I have heard so many stories from so many of you. Just this last week, I sat in the courthouse down in Garvin County over a lady who, breast cancer survivor, colon cancer survivor, one other kind of cancer survivor, had a brutal sexual assault, PTSD, was on 36 prescription medications. 36 prescription medications. She's now on 0 because she was utilizing medical marijuana. Did that solve all of her problems? No. And I will never be one that's going to go out there and tout, medical marijuana is this cure-all. Cannabis is going to save us all. No. What I am going to say is that for too many conditions in too many people, that it is way too valuable of a resource for us to be turning our back on. It's going to be getting a lot of Oklahomans off of a lot of harmful drugs and making them productive members of society again. On top of getting all of the people out of jail and reducing the criminal justice costs and reducing law enforcement costs, there is no justification for not passing State Question 788. The people who are advocating against it are operating on old information and are trying to legislate a morality, not realizing that that is probably the most immoral thing that they could possibly do, is deprive people of their right to life and their right to treat themselves as they see fit. Any of the other concerns they have, people doing it while driving, getting high while driving. We have a law for that. It's called driving under the influence, driving while intoxicated. We have things to cover that. It's a gateway drug. No, it's not a gateway drug. Alcohol is more of a gateway drug than than cannabis is, period. Recreational cannabis. I advocate for the full legalization of cannabis, for the legal issues, for the law enforcement issues, for the criminal justice issues, for the medical issues, for the revenue issues, for the agricultural issues, for all of it. We haven't talked about that tonight. I wanted to talk more about the situation down in Altus, Oklahoma. They have a cotton gin running 24 hours a day at 100% capacity. They don't think that they're going to be able to get through the last harvest, get it all treated before the next harvest comes in. Why don't they open another one? Well, because it's too expensive to open up shop in Oklahoma, because we are too busy subsidizing our energy buddies in order to make the tax code fair for all. That GPT, I'm telling you, it's going to have a lot more side effects that are going to be beneficial for Oklahoma than any legislation that legislature's passed since Mary Fallon took office. And again, that's not about taxation. That's about equality before the law. That's about fair representation. That's about treating all businesses equally. The government's got no business choosing winners and losers in the economic marketplace. That's the consumer's job. If they are putting a good product out there for a good price and people want to buy it, they'll support it. They don't need the government for that. So we have got 30 seconds left. Guys, I'm going to close this up saying, please, if you have time, get with Megan, get with Noah, my volunteer coordinator. They can find something for you to do to help spread the message. You don't even have to get with them. Just share the messages. When you see them on Facebook, hit that share button, post it on yours, and send it out to all your friends. If we snag one person out of this, it's a win, and it was worth the effort. Number 2, Be active on my Facebook page. Pay attention. If you have issues that you want to talk about, post them. We can start conversations there. Again, that gets spread out to thousands of other people, and they see the conversations that we're having, the solutions that we're promoting. 3, RexForGovernor2018.com. Point people to that webpage. It's got a very high-level overview of all of my policy positions and the guiding philosophy behind all of the decisions that I will make as your governor. And it also has a short biography of me so they can get introduced to how we got to this point today. And if you have the resources available, please click that donate button. Literature is not cheap. Airtime is not cheap. Chad, if you're still out there and you're still listening, I would appreciate you getting with Megan and setting up that in studio that we were going to do. If anybody doesn't have anything else, that's it for tonight, guys. I'll hopefully see you Saturday. If I don't, I'll see you out there on the trail. Have a good night.